Welcome back to Sisters Unbothered, where we dive deep into the real conversations about living authentically in a world that's constantly asking us to be everything to everyone. I'm your host, Coach Nikki Cates, and I'm so glad that you're here. If you are a new listener, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to earn your trust. And if you are returning, thank you so much for your support. Last week, we spent time talking about the importance of boundaries, why they matter, how to set them, and the resistance you might face when you start saying no. And if you missed that episode, I definitely encourage you to go back and listen because boundaries are foundational. But here's what I've been hearing from so many of you. Coach Nikki, I've set the boundaries. I'm saying no more often. I even have a self-care routine. Why do I still feel empty? Today, we're building on last week's conversation because I need to tell you something that might be a little difficult to hear. Boundaries aren't enough. There's more work to be done. And in 2025, with everything we're navigating as women, politically, economically, socially, this conversation is more crucial than ever. So let's get to it. Hey, y'all, what's up, my sister? Now, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. I hope you had a fantastic week and that you're having a peaceful weekend. We are going to go ahead and jump right in. This is not going to be a long one, so that should make some of us happy because I can go a little long sometimes, depending on what I'm talking about. But my goal is to get through this pretty quickly. Straight to the point, my sister. However, I do encourage you to listen in, pay attention, be ready to listen to it again if you need to. And of course, always take notes. Now, let's be real about where we are right now. We're living in a time where women are being pulled in more directions than ever, and yet still expected to stay in the margins. We're dealing with political uncertainty, economic pressures, social media comparison culture, and this constant message that we need to hustle harder, do more, be more. Hustle culture has gotten completely out of hand. And the wellness industry, billion-dollar industry, it's telling us the solution is simple. Just set better boundaries. Just practice self-care. Learn to say no. Value yourself. But I'm going to challenge that narrative today because as a transformation strategist and life coach who works with high-achieving women on a regular basis, I see what happens when you follow that advice and still end up feeling like something's missing. The problem isn't that you only need to set better boundaries. The problem is that you don't know what you're protecting when you set them. Ouch. I felt that, and I'm the one that wrote it. Listen, y'all, I'm here because I'm doing this with love, not to judge anybody, not to come for anybody, but I only teach what I know, okay? So let's go ahead and jump into the real issue here, because that right there, what I just said, I'm going to say it again to make sure you heard me. The problem isn't that you need to set better boundaries. That's not your only problem. The problem is that you don't know what you're protecting when you set them. So, the real issue, identity crisis in modern America. I remember doing a speech when I was a Toastmaster about the epidemic of a lack of self-awareness. That is very true. In my own personal life, I can tell you that unless they are my coaching colleagues or someone that I've had regular coaching conversations with, most people are not self-aware. And most people do not operate with emotional intelligence. So here's what I'm seeing. And the research backs it up. Most women experiencing chronic burnout in 2025 aren't just overcommitted. Yes, there are some self-stewardship skills that are needing to be acquired. Maybe you're using some tools to assist with that. But what it really is they're over-identified with the roles that were given to them and that were never meant to be their whole identity. Being a mother is a beautiful thing, but it's not meant to be your whole identity. And to this day, all of my girls are adult age, and I still struggle with this. Because what's one of the first things you want to say to people when they say, tell me about yourself? A mother of 4 daughters. Listen, that's not who I am. It's a part of making me who I am, but it's not my core authentic identity. Think about it. In today's culture, we're expected to be the high performer at work, the team player who never shows weakness, never gets angry, the perfect partner who maintains the emotional labor in relationships. Oh my gosh, do we want to talk about lopsidedness? The social media presence who has it all together. That highlight reel is popping. The daughter, sister, friend who's always available for everyone. The woman who breaks barriers while never acknowledging the toll that it takes to do so. This is what I'm going to call role identity fusion, and it's epidemic right now. You've become the woman who says yes because disappointing others feels like failing at being a quote-unquote good woman. You measure your worth by your productivity because that's what our culture celebrates. Women that hold their men down and are prowess at managing their households. The ideal mother. Nurturing enough, but not too nurturing. You know what I'm hearing in my head is the monologue in Barbie. Listen, when I say she ate that with no crumbs, wow. And that's what I'm thinking about right now, because there's always a standard that we are expected to meet. And so we measure our worth by that, because that's what culture celebrates. Feeling guilty when we're not producing something because rest has been labeled as lazy, especially for women. Think about it. Men tend to act like they are deserving of rest, that they are the leaders of the world and they carry all of the weight and they should be able to go and fish and sit in front of the TV or play video games to quote unquote rest, to play golf and to hang out with their boys for rest. But when we do it, are we doing it from a space where everything else is done in line and finito? We have upheld our roles and now we deserve rest. And here's the kicker. Many of us have forgotten what we actually enjoy because we're so busy being everything everyone else needs. And that, my sister, is not cool. So let's talk about going beyond boundaries. And we're going to apply the UNMASK framework. This is why this coaching framework goes deeper than boundary work. Because in the unmasking process, I help women master their mindset and align with their purpose, reconnect with their true identities, because sustainable change requires internal clarity, not just external adjustments. And that's what leads us into burnout. Okay? So let me walk you through this real quick. You unlearn limiting beliefs. Stop believing the lies, whether they are coming from a spiritual place or if they're coming from an external place, from people, from society, from life sometimes, even from yourself. Before you can protect your energy effectively, you need to identify and unlearn the beliefs that create that chaos in the first place. Thinking things like, my value comes from how much I can handle. Rest is selfish when others are struggling. I feel that one. I have to prove I belong in every space I occupy. And why it's foul that we pretty much base that on truth. We don't have to approach it in that way. These beliefs did not appear overnight. They're the result of cultural conditioning, family dynamics, and societal messaging. This is what we saw. This is the behaviors of others. These are our norms in the workplace and at home. And they require intentional unlearning, and that's what we're doing through Sisters Unbothered. That's what we're doing through the UNMASK framework. We are helping each other unlearn and relearn. Okay? We are deconstructing what society has told us that we are and how we should be. And we're going to rebuild on authenticity. Okay? Nurture self-awareness. You cannot protect what you don't know exists. Self-awareness means getting curious about what actually energizes you versus what you think should energize you. You will actually know this. You need to know this. I have asked women what their peak energy zones are during a day, and they have no idea. It's this type of stuff that helps us to show up in a way where we can operate with wisdom instead of burning ourselves out. When you feel authentic versus when you're performing, that's another big one. Do you even know when you're performing and when you're not? Do you know when you're masked and when you're not? Are you keeping on your workplace armor when you get home? Also, what your body tells you about different people, situations, and commitments. Are you paying attention to your body as you're going through life? Self-awareness, y'all. Are you paying attention to the thoughts that you're accepting? One of the most freeing things the last couple of decades that I have learned. I remember the day when a thought came to me that I don't have to accept every thought. It was mind-blowing. And we didn't have the mind-blown emoji back then. But that's literally how I felt in the moment, realizing that I don't have to accept every thought. I can be selective about what thoughts that pop up are allowed to manifest into my mind. And so can you. So I want you to think about this, though. This isn't about navel gazing. This is data collection for better decision making. Just like you go out there and you acquire data for making decisions about restaurants and hotels and airlines and companies that you're thinking about purchasing from. You have to do the same thing for yourself that you're doing externally. That's facts, sis. And a lot of us aren't doing that. We're putting all that research and effort into everything else, and we're not doing it from an internal perspective. So I am encouraging you to unlearn and relearn right now today. Master your mindset. Mindset work isn't about positive thinking only, okay? I won't say it doesn't include that, but it's not just that. Because you can have a false positive experience and your mindset has not shifted, not a bit. And everything is about mindset, my sister. It's about questioning whose standards are driving your choices. Are they yours? Most likely they're not. But I'm hoping they are. Recognizing when you're performing for external validation. Oh my gosh. This one is recent for me. I'll never forget the day a couple years ago when my therapist asked me why I felt like I needed to be validated by others. And it caught me off guard because I was talking about my marriage. And in that moment when she asked me that question, it dawned on me, why do I feel like this man has to validate everything? Especially if I know that God gave it to me. So we have to be aware. You cannot make changes to something you're not aware of, my sister. Also, choosing thoughts that align with who you are, want to become, not who you think you should be. There is a huge difference there, sis. There is a chasm far too wide between the two. And you have to learn how to get from one side to the other. And it's not as taxing as it sounds, I promise you. But that's why you need someone like me to help you see that, because it can be intimidating. Inner work and inner healing requires consistency, and it requires doing the hard things. Sometimes it's easier to push yourself to do that when you have help. If you need that help, please come talk to me. But just remember, you have to make a decision about how you're going to show up in this world. Are you going to keep living the way you think you should because of others? Or do you want to live based off of who you are instead of just doing something? The doing something is what burns us out. Okay? A, align with purpose. Your purpose is not just your career title or your role in other people's lives. It's about who you are becoming and who you were called to be. How you should show up in this world. Your unique contribution to the grand scheme of all, okay? I know you've heard this analogy before. A huge puzzle. Your piece only fits in a certain way. And when you keep trying to fit it like everyone else's instead of your unique way, that piece of the puzzle is not being added to the total picture. Okay? When you're aligned with this deeper purpose, your choices become clearer. It becomes way easier, y'all, to make decisions and set priorities when you're moving with purpose, your purpose, God's purpose. Okay? Your energy feels sustainable. Even if you go to bed tired, you have not been completely drained. So you wake up ready to go again, revived, refreshed. When you're not operating from that space, everything drains the living daylights out of you, and it's impossible to recharge until you acknowledge that you're doing too much and you're really not being. This is true because so many people, think about it, are doing jobs that are just for money. I don't think it's anyone's purpose to live just for money. So that's where burnout comes from, because you don't have a deeper purpose behind why you are existing and what you are doing. And when you have a purpose behind what you're doing, you'll be more prone to only do what's necessary. Hence, no more burnout. S, shed what no longer serves you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let it go. Commitments that drain more than they give, relationships that require you to shrink yourself, versions of yourself that you've outgrown. This isn't about becoming selfish, y'all. It's about being intentional about you. A lot of us love to say, God, don't play about me. And that is very true. But do you play about you? There is nothing selfish about you loving yourself and knowing your value and your worth. You need to stop playing about you, because you talk to you more than anyone else on this earth on a daily basis. And you go before the Lord and will be held accountable for what you have done with what He has placed here in this earth. You yourself are a seed, okay, with your own harvest to bring to this world. Don't overthink this, sis. Don't overthink it. Just feel what I'm saying. Take it in prayer. Take it to your journal. And begin to recognize this. It don't matter what nobody out here doing. The man can keep on being the man. When it really comes down to it, you are going to be responsible for you. Not your children. Not your partner. You. And I feel that all the way in the depths of my soul right now, saying this to y'all. Because I think a lot of us lose sight of that, and we are conditioned to be so about everyone else. Even as a parent, your child will have to grow and become responsible for themselves. Okay. I love my grandson. That is my heart. And I am his grams. But one day, he will have to take accountability and responsibility for himself. Nobody else will be able to do that for him. So right now we enjoy that we are able to sow into that, to water that seed, to provide it a nurturing environment. But it's going to be on him. Okay? So yes, I was put here to be Jira's grams. But that is not my full purpose because my identity is not grandma. Okay? I hope y'all are catching and picking up what I'm putting down. I love being his grandmother, but that's not my identity. Okay? K, know your worth. Your worth exists independent of your achievements, your usefulness to others, or your ability to meet expectations. When you truly internalize this, you stop trying to earn love through performance. Oop. Bloop, actually. You make decisions from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. Oh man, I think this is another epidemic. You show up as yourself, not as who you think others need you to be. When you know your worth. Listen. It's in your hands, my sister. Nobody else can do this for you. I can walk this journey with you, but I guarantee you hold the answers and you hold the power and you hold everything that is needed to shift from a place of overwhelm to overflow. So here what changes when you do this deeper work. You move from overwhelm to overflow. And overflow isn't about having more time or energy. It's about living in alignment with who you actually are. You start to mask yourself less and less and show up authentically in all environments. Dr. Cindy Trim calls this congruency. You begin to live a life of congruency where you are the same person in no matter what room you stand. And that has been an aspiration for me ever since I first did her 40-day soul fast years ago. Congruency is a goal for me. I don't want to be a person in my domestic environment and a whole different person in my professional environment and a whole different person in my church environment and a whole different person with my inner circle. And this is literally who I was. So of course I was in a cycle of burnout. It's exhausting. Okay, switching roles, switching hats, switching personas, armor on, armor off, or having to wear armor in every space because you're so traumatized and unhealed. I'm speaking from what I know, my sister. When you are aligned, your work begins to feel more meaningful, not just productive. Your relationships nourish rather than drain you. And if they don't, you will have the courage and the wisdom to know how to set boundaries or walk away. Your rest feels restorative rather than guilty. Hello, sitting on the beach for no other reason just because you want to. Your choices feel authentic rather than obligation. Okay? This is especially important right now because we're living in times that require us to be grounded in who we are and not be swept away by external chaos. Because listen, y'all, the chaos keeps growing and it's going to keep growing. Okay? So we have to do the work to make sure that we are not swept away into that and sitting in a corner somewhere having a nervous breakdown. All right? I'm speaking against that for everyone whose ears my voice lands. Now, let's get practical real quick. This week, I encourage you to complete an identity audit. Set aside 30 minutes. You're supposed to be giving yourself grounding time anyway. So go to your go to your calendar and time block some time for honest self-reflection. Then I want you to get your notebook or your journal and your pen. Okay? Ask yourself these questions and write down your answers. And then I want you to walk away from it and revisit it later in the week. Who am I when I am not being useful to anyone? What do I actually enjoy separate from what I think I should enjoy? And it's crazy to say that because you would think if it's something you enjoy, you would just want to do that. But sometimes we worry about being judged, right? Number 3, if no one was watching or judging, how would I spend my time? Number 4, what would I pursue if failure and disappointment weren't possibilities? And number 5, when do I feel most like myself? Now, these questions might feel a little uncomfortable at first, but sis, unmasking is uncomfortable. Doing the inner work is uncomfortable, but it's very necessary. And if you allow yourself through that discomfort, you will be so glad and you will thank me later. It is normal to feel the discomfort. Discomfort, though, often signals that you're touching something important. There's a trigger there that would be worthy of your time and energy to get to the root of. All right. I told you it was going to be quick this week. Here's what I would like for you to remember. You don't need to add anything to become who you're meant to be. I would encourage you to start subtracting everything that's not authentically you, that requires you to do, instead of showing up and just being who you are. As women navigating 2025, we can no longer afford to keep running on empty, performing versions of ourselves that leave us exhausted and unfulfilled. If the chaos is going to continue to grow, it would benefit everyone around us, including our community and our country, for us to not be in a space we are going to be ineffective. And as long as we stay in this cycle of burnout, we stay in this cycle of exhaustion and unfulfillment and depression and anxiety, we are not much good to anyone, okay? And what the world needs is women who are recharged, recalibrated, relearned, and ready for whatever is to come. The world needs women who are who they know they are, not who they are told they are. They need to know what they stand for and how to show up, not just authentically, but empowered. Boundaries are important. They are part of the foundation of this work, but the deeper work is figuring out what you're protecting when you set those boundaries. I'm going to say this again and I'm going to keep saying it because the Kaizen method says that you need to keep touching it so that people receive it. Boundaries are not for the other people. They are for you. So if you put boundaries into place, you got to know why you're putting them there to make sure that you're putting them there for the right reasons. Some of us put up walls. I'm not going to say boundaries. I'm going to say walls. I'm going to say limitations. We put them there for the wrong reasons because we're protecting the broken parts of ourselves. We're protecting the trauma responses. We're protecting the unhealedness. That's not what we need to do because that keeps us trapped. That's a prison, my sister. We want to set boundaries that give us life, give us room to grow, give us room to prosper. Not just to be better for others, but to allow better others in, okay? It's knowing yourself so well that your yes and your no come from a place of clarity rather than fear or obligation. That right there is a preaching sermon of itself. I'm going to say it one more time. It's knowing yourself so well that your yes and your no, your yays and your nays, no longer come from a place of fear or obligation, but from clarity, intention, purpose. This is the work that changes everything. Not just your schedule, not just your stress levels, but how you move through this world. Thank you so much for listening. I pray that this has been helpful and useful and a blessing to you. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. And please share this with a woman who might need this message. I love you, my sisters, and I will talk to you next week. That's it for today, Sisters Unbothered. Thank you so much. If you are a returning listener, I appreciate your support more than you could ever know. If you are new, please let me know how I can be a blessing to you on these episodes, and I hope that I am able to earn your trust. If this resonated with you, please share it with another sister who needs to hear this message. Please, because we are all out here trying to figure it out, y'all. If you would like to get connected and have access to the handouts, the teaching videos, the blog posts, the newsletter, please join Sisters Unbothered on Substack. That is substack.com/@CoachNikkiCates. And remember, your boundaries are not walls. They are sacred spaces where your worth is honored. Until next time, keep living unbothered, my sisters. Keep unmasking, even when it's uncomfortable, and keep honoring the sacred gift that is you. I'm Coach Nikki Cates, and I'll catch you on the next episode.